Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to rebuild or assemble X-Flex joint from Rough Country. This is what it comes in the kit. This is what a couple of tools that you need. You need a hammer, some good snap ring pliers, some pliers to assemble the grease cert, and a 3/32 Allen wrench to insert this lock nut right there, lock bolt. Now, this is my third set of snap ring pliers, and this is by far the most expensive one that I bought. It's like $30 from Sears. The first one that I tried were from AutoZone. Now, those things were just really cheap. Every time I tried to assemble it, the snap ring plier just, it didn't close all the way enough for it to go inside the joint. So these are the ones that I bought, and those have worked assembling like 4 or 5 control arms so far, and it's worked. Alright, now pick up the joint right here, the housing, and you're going to see one side has threads, the other side has a notch that goes all the way around, and that notch is for the snap ring. Okay, so you need your snap ring pliers. Be really careful, because if you lose grip right here, after you have tension or close to touching these both ends, it's going to snap at somebody. So make sure you grab it. There you go. Now, if it simply goes in too far, don't worry about it. Leave it as is. All you have to do is put this washer in there, and then just hit it with the hammer until it falls into the grooves. But mine did it. Mine was perfect. So push the washer in there. Second, you're going to use your bushings and the sphere. Now, what I like doing is putting a little bit of grease. This grease in here is a Synergy grease. You just need a little bit just to lube up. A little Synergy grease right there. You're still going to put grease in there later. Now, let's talk about grease a little bit while I'm greasing it. The first type of grease that I put on my control arms, they were the Harbor Freight, $2 grease. And I thought, I got the heavy duty one, the little black one. It's probably like $2.50 instead of $2. Now, that grease, after a while, it heats up and it starts leaking. So I looked at my control arm, and it was leaking some sort of grease, fluid, or whatever. So what I found out is that my grease gun, after leaving the toolbox, it started leaking. So that just, it just tells you that the grease that you have is pretty cheap. Alright, so I went out to Quadratech and I got some Synergy grease. Now, that grease, one tube by itself is $20. It's pretty good grease. Right now I have that grease on my front Rough Country control arms and on my Synergy control arms, which have a Johnny joint bushing, and they're doing great. Alright, so here's a helpful hint when assembling, when putting the bushings together. Alright, now you see where they lock. Alright, it's fine. They lock in there, right? So you have these little holes right here, these little notched out grooves that you see. Some of them have grease. I'll show you real quick. See, they have grease. So now, in my head, I was thinking about when you put them in there, what I would want to do, and what I'm going to do, is I'm going to align this little hole here, this little groove, align it with the hole in the housing for the grease fitting, right? So this is where the grease fitting goes. All right, just pretend that it's in there. All right, now picture this with me. If this hole for the grease fitting is facing, you insert your bushing, this whole assembly here, you slide it in there, and this little hole, it just aligns here, right? Whenever you're pumping grease in there, it's just going to go spread it out, which is fine. But if you align it, this little hole, this little slot in the poly bushing with the housing, you're going to be able to get grease not just outside, but in the sphere as well. So I mean, it's not in the directions. It's just something that I thought of, and hopefully it helps you guys keep your joints lubed up a little more. Okay, grab it, put it in the joint. Together, and it's pretty much done. Alright, the next step is you grab this spanner, nut, threaded washer. It's a damn washer. It has threads. It's a threaded washer. Okay, so you have a tool that they give you, a spanner tool, and you use that. But what I like doing is threading it in there with my hands first, because you don't want to cross thread it. It's really, really easy to cross thread these suckers. There you go, got it in there. All the way in there, and it's good. Now, the first time I was assembling this, I asked myself, look at the directions, and it didn't say how tight I'm supposed to do it. Now, I just did it pretty freaking tight. It's really up to you how tight, how stiff you want it. Like when I compared it to the Synergy, the Johnny joints, this sphere here, by hand, I wasn't able to rotate it inside the joint itself, or actually turn it side to side. So that's how tight those were. Alright, so that's pretty tight. Now the next step, what you want to do is, there's little grooves inside the spanner nut threaded washer. Now this notch right here, you're going to want to line it up with this little hole here where the stud goes, the locking stud goes. So this is where it goes. Now, so I just got to go a little bit more until one of these line up. Perfect. There you go. The notch lines up with the little hole for the nut. So you get your 3/32 Allen wrench. There you go. You thread it in there. Now you can see that I went a little bit too far, so I'll just back it up just a little bit. There we go. And then you'll see it and you'll feel it, if it hits the side of the threaded washer, just back it up or tighten it up a little bit more. But there you go. It goes all the way in there until it touches. And bam, it's done. Now, the purpose of this little bolt here is just so the threaded washer doesn't loosen up or come off as you're driving. All right, that's pretty much it. Now they give you this greaser. When installing it, again, the first time when I installed these, I really didn't know what position to put them in. But since these control arms are going to go in the front lower. Now, according to the directions, this joint goes on the frame and not the axle. So the flex joint goes attached to the control arm mounting bracket at the frame and not the axle. So think about it. You kind of want this grease fitting to be away from from the ground, from any rocks. So if you had it assembled just like this. Well, if you had the greaser on the bottom and you hit a rock, it just break it off. So what I did is I put it to the top. So both lower control arms are facing up. So this sucker here, there you go. Now, this gets really, really tight, really fast. So you can use a 10mm wrench, or you could just use regular crescent wrench or a channel lock, whatever. Now, which way do I point the greaser? If you think about it, if you put it like this, you're not going to be able to get the grease gun in, because up here is going to be the frame of your Jeep. So you want this pointing, pointed down towards the stud of the control arm. There you go. All right, and now it's assembled. Alright, so next I'm going to show you guys how to grease your control arm joint with the grease gun. Now, if you are, here's a little tip for greasing these fittings here, or any fitting that you have on your Jeep, whether it being ball joints, control arms, tie rod ends, whatever. I like getting the snap ring pliers, or anything small. You get whatever, a pen or whatever, but you want to make sure you see the little ball in there. Now that ball right there, it keeps the grease from coming out. Now, if they're pretty old grease fittings, the little ball in here is seized. I've seen a couple seized in there, a couple rusted to the top. So whenever you do attach the grease gun, people think, oh look, it's coming out from on top here, it should be done. But in reality, it's just stuck, the little ball, the little sphere is just stuck in the little housing up here. So what I like doing is I like grabbing, you can see, grab it and push the little ball in there. And you'll see it come in and out. Now if it's really full, and I've seen this happen, if it's really full, you push the little ball in there and grease shoots out at you. Alright, that means it's full. Alright, so just grab it, insert it there. So now all you gotta do is give it a couple pumps. You see here? See the grease that's coming out? You can stop there, you know what I mean? You just stop, or you could do is, just to get the grease moving in there, just wiggle it around, try to spin it, whatever. Up, down, side to side. Give it a couple more pumps. It's coming out same spot. You're pretty much done. Wipe it, clean it, get the sucker off, and you're done. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more how-tos, some reviews, and watch out for my next video on review on this joint itself.